There are hundreds of thousands of plants around the world that make flowers. What are flowers? What are they for? They're the part of a plant that makes seeds so the plant can create more of itself. Some flowers are very simple. Some grow low to the ground, while others grow tall to the sky. Some have many, many petals. Some hold their flowers upside down, and others hold their flowers up like a plate. Some flowers grow in moist, shady places, while other plants have flowers that grow in dry, warm places. But no matter how different they look, almost all flowers have the same kinds of parts needed to make seeds to grow new plants. Pollen, which might look like a very fine dust, has to travel from one flower to another part in a different flower to make a seed. And to get there, a flower needs a friend. This is where the pollinators come in. These are honeybees, and in order to attract the honeybees to do the pollen moving job that the flower needs, the flower offers the bees nectar. And these bees are busily traveling from one flower to another, taking a tiny sip of nectar from each, and as they go, they are also picking up pollen dust on their bodies and legs. Now, honeybees are different than bumblebees, which are much fuzzier and come in many different varieties. There are many species of bumblebees, even right where you live. And you can see on this bumblebee how that pollen sticks to their fuzzy bodies and sticks to their legs, and they have special places on their legs where they can carry the pollen too, as well as taking the nectar with them. Every now and then throughout the day, a bee has to stop and use the combs on its legs to keep that pollen all bundled up in the basket and not all over itself. Honeybees and bumblebees get along fine together as long as no one's threatening their hive. There are other important pollinators too. Butterflies of all kinds visit flowers for a sip of nectar. At night, moths and bats are important pollinators, and even some birds get in on the work. Flowers are famous for their petals. Their bright colors and patterns help to attract the bees and the birds, the bats, the butterflies that visit them. Let's look at some other parts of flowers. Before the petals emerge, they're held in by the sepals at the end of the branch. When the petals open, usually right in their center, is a pistil. Not a pistil that something shoots out of, but a pistil that the pollen has to travel down through the bottom of this long tube to get to the ovary at the base and make a seed. Now the pollen is held up in a different part of the flower on stamen. The stamen of this lily are hanging upside down, and you can see the big brown anthers of pollen hanging on them, waiting to travel to the pistil of another flower. Because that is where the nectar is stored for the pollinators, you may notice a lot of flowers have a shape and colors and patterns that draw the pollinators right to their center. Of course, not all flowers look like this. Take a walk around your neighborhood or right in your own garden maybe, and look at the patterns of flowers that you can find. Notice what sort of pollinators come to them. See if you can find where the pollen is stored, where the nectar is. And wonder about which kinds of plants make flowers and which don't? Can you find some trees that are flowering? Many trees do make flowers, and they are visited by pollinators. But there's one kind of flower at least that has no need for pollinators. Can you guess what makes a flower that only uses the wind to spread its pollen? That's right, grass. Now go out and see how many kinds of flowers you can count today.